Out there, beyond the city lights and smooth asphalt, there's a place where machinery meets nature head-on, where every climb, rut, and rock is a test not just of engineering, but of purpose. Imagine the sound of gravel snapping beneath tires built for punishment. Imagine a cabin that feels like a command post for explorers, not commuters. It's a rare kind of vehicle that can carry boardroom polish, yet still wade through rivers or scale mountains. In an age where everything seems to chase comfort and silence, this one dares to keep its squared-off defiance alive. It stands at the crossroads of heritage and reinvention, proving that evolution doesn't always mean erasing your past. What happens when an icon refuses to surrender, choosing instead to redefine what strength looks like in the modern world? That's the journey ahead. Stick around, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment on what legendary machine you want to see next. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 begins where history meets reinvention. A machine that carries the unmistakable silhouette of its ancestors, yet hides a future-focused soul beneath the familiar armor. For more than 40 years, the G-Class has been a rolling paradox, a vehicle born for military duty that evolved into a global symbol of prestige. Its story is a reflection of how culture bends metal to its will, and how loyalty to a shape, a stance, and a feeling can outlast generations. The 2025 model didn't start as a blank slate. It began as a promise to stay true while moving forward. To understand why this version matters, we need to look back to where the G-Class began. The original Geländewagen was never intended for Beverly Hills or South Beach. It was conceived in the late 1970s as a rugged, purpose-built off-roader, an all-terrain vehicle designed to conquer mountains, deserts, and anything else the world threw at it. It was born from the collaboration between Mercedes-Benz and Steyr-Daimler-Puch, a company known for military vehicles and alpine toughness. The early Gs were brutally simple, with ladder frames, locking differentials, and interiors that cared little for comfort. But they built a reputation that no amount of advertising could buy: reliability in the face of the impossible. Through the 1980s and 1990s, the G-Class slowly transformed. What began as a utility vehicle gained power windows, leather upholstery, and eventually turbocharged engines. The G became both a status symbol and a survival tool, an odd mix of luxury and brutality that no one else dared to imitate. Owners found themselves driving something that felt ancient yet invincible, a kind of mechanical honesty wrapped in indulgence. Mercedes understood that part of the G's magic was its resistance to change, so every redesign felt more like an evolution than a revolution. That mindset carried through the decades, even as technology reshaped the automotive world. By the time the 2019 redesign arrived, the first complete overhaul since its birth, Mercedes faced a challenge: how to preserve the G-Class's identity while modernizing everything beneath the skin. The frame was new, the suspension completely reworked, yet the shape stayed defiantly familiar. It was proof that Mercedes engineers knew their audience. People didn't want a different G, they wanted a better one. Enter the Mercedes G-Class 2025. This isn't just another facelift, it's a response to the pressures of electrification, environmental regulation, and shifting customer expectations. Underneath, the structure is still built for punishment, with a ladder frame and independent front suspension. But now it hides systems that anticipate terrain before the driver feels it, adaptive dampers that read the road like a pulse, and new materials that shave weight without compromising strength. Every decision reflects a tug-of-war between heritage and innovation. Designers faced perhaps the hardest task: how to modernize a shape that's practically sacred. They chose refinement through subtlety. The headlights are slightly slimmer, the surfaces more precise, yet the upright posture remains untouched. The flat glass, exposed hinges, and visible door handles, relics of another era, were kept because they aren't just functional. They're emotional anchors. Owners recognize them instantly. To drive a G-Class is to announce that you value history in a world obsessed with the next thing. Inside, the transformation is deeper. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 adopts the digital cockpit layout found in the brand's flagship models, but filtered through a utilitarian lens. The infotainment screen stretches across the dash, yet the grab handle remains right where it's always been. That juxtaposition, luxury meeting practicality, defines the entire experience. Every button, every switch feels deliberate, designed to be operated with gloved hands or polished fingertips. The craftsmanship isn't ostentatious, it's confident. But behind all the aesthetics lies the real evolution. the move toward electrification. Mercedes understands that even the toughest icon must adapt. The new generation introduces the G580 EQ variant, an all-electric version designed not as a gimmick, but as a legitimate successor. 4 electric motors, 1 per wheel, give it the kind of control internal combustion could only dream of. Torque vectoring allows the vehicle to pivot on its axis, what engineers call a G-turn. The silence that accompanies off-road driving in this electric version is eerie yet mesmerizing. Imagine cresting a rocky ridge with nothing but the wind and tires whispering against earth. It's a different kind of power, one that redefines dominance without noise. The 2025 G-Class, whether electric or gasoline, is built around the idea of duality. It must be equally at home crawling through boulders as it is gliding past valet lines. This tension drives every design decision. Engineers fortified the underbody with reinforced panels and carefully tuned the suspension to maintain both comfort and capability. It's an engineering tightrope. Too soft and it loses its credibility. Too harsh and it alienates the luxury buyer. Finding that balance has become the G-Class's defining art. Culturally, the G-Class 2025 enters a very different landscape. When the first models rolled out, luxury meant opulence and size. Now it means responsibility and restraint. Mercedes had to align the G's image with the values of a generation that cares about sustainability, but still craves presence. That's why the 2025 lineup is as much about materials as it is about motors. Recycled leathers, sustainably sourced woods, and synthetic alternatives all find their place inside the cabin. The message is clear. You can still have an icon, but it has to evolve with your ethics. Ownership of the Mercedes G-Class 2025 carries the same dichotomy it always has. It's both a toy and a tool. It's impractical for city driving, oversized for most garages, and extravagant in ways that defy logic. And yet, that's precisely the point. Owners don't buy it because it's sensible. They buy it because it represents mastery over terrain, over time, and perhaps over convention itself. Driving it feels like participating in an ongoing story that stretches back more than 4 decades. In the US, the G-Class's popularity has only intensified, even as competitors flood the luxury SUV market. That's because the G isn't chasing trends, it's dictating them. From the squared-off fenders to the iconic door latch thunk, every detail has become a symbol of permanence in an age of disposability. The 2025 model embraces that symbolism while quietly embedding itself in the future. As we explore the world surrounding this machine, the expectations, the reactions, the inevitable comparisons, it becomes clear that the G-Class is more than a luxury SUV. It's a statement about identity, about what happens when design resists time itself. And that's where the next part of our story begins. How this icon faces a new wave of competition and a market that's evolving faster than ever. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 doesn't live in a vacuum. It enters a world where luxury SUVs have become the battleground of identity. Every manufacturer wants to claim toughness, prestige, and sustainability all at once. But the G-Class has a unique advantage: authenticity earned over 45 years. That history gives the 2025 model something competitors can't replicate: a narrative of continuity. And yet, that same legacy also creates the greatest challenge. How do you satisfy die-hard traditionalists while proving you're not stuck in the past? The Mercedes G-Class 2025 navigates that tension through confidence rather than compromise. In the US market, the G63 remains the poster child of outrageous power, a twin-turbocharged V8 that transforms torque into theater. Its presence dominates driveways and highways alike. But quietly, the electric G580 EQ lurks on the horizon, rewriting what off-road performance can be. With instant torque from 4 motors and millisecond-level control, it's capable of feats that would humble even the most modified gas-powered rigs. It can crab walk, pivot, and climb without hesitation, proving that silence can be a form of strength. Still, purists debate its soul. Can an electric G-Class still be called a G if it no longer growls? That debate fuels fascination. In the US, enthusiasts measure authenticity not just by power, but by feel, the feedback through the steering, the way the chassis communicates, the confidence on uneven ground. Mercedes engineers know this intimately. That's why they tune the electric model to mimic the rhythm of mechanical traction, ensuring that it doesn't feel like a video game simulation. Even regenerative braking is calibrated to resemble engine braking down steep descents. The result isn't a gimmick. It's an evolution of instinct. As the 2025 G-Class enters showrooms, the reaction is telling. Younger buyers see it as a design icon reborn, a piece of rolling architecture that bridges generations. Older fans scrutinize every line, every sound, every hint of softness in the suspension, comparing it to the 2019 update or the beloved W463 generation. What unites them is respect for continuity. Mercedes managed to modernize the cabin with massive displays and AI-assisted systems while keeping the mechanical honesty intact. There's still a low-range gear selector. Still the iconic triple-locking differential controls staring from the center stack, a kind of mechanical handshake between eras. Competitors can't replicate that legacy. Some SUVs attempt to imitate the square silhouette or boast similar off-road credentials, but few carry the same authority. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 doesn't just perform, it symbolizes belonging to a lineage. That's why it thrives in both off-road clubs and designer boutiques. It's a machine that transcends demographics, equally at home on a dirt trail or in a luxury shopping district. Its paradoxical nature is its power. Performance aside, the broader conversation surrounding the Mercedes G-Class 2025 revolves around responsibility. Governments worldwide are tightening emissions standards, and the US is no exception. Luxury brands must now justify their existence through sustainability metrics as much as performance stats. The G-Class, once the embodiment of excess, now needs to prove its conscience. Mercedes' strategy is simple: electrify without compromise. The G580 EQ is not a token entry. It's a full-fledged evolution that complements, rather than replaces, the traditional G63. By giving buyers a choice between thunder and silence, Mercedes broadens the definition of what luxury toughness means. Yet, technology alone doesn't secure cultural relevance. The G-Class thrives because of what it represents, a blend of freedom, security, and endurance. In marketing, Mercedes rarely needs to exaggerate those traits. The visual alone, a boxy silhouette against a mountain sunrise, tells the story. It's a car that says, "I can go anywhere," even if most owners never leave pavement. And that promise, that invitation to capability, is what sustains the myth. The aftermarket world amplifies this mythology. Across the US, tuning houses and custom builders turn the Mercedes G-Class 2025 into everything from desert-conquering beasts to red carpet showpieces. Lift kits, snorkels, wide-body conversions, and military-inspired wraps give owners a way to personalize their icon without losing its essence. Each modification becomes an act of tribute. The G-Class community treats the platform not as disposable luxury, but as a blank canvas for expression. That culture of customization keeps older generations alive alongside the newest models, forming a continuum that no marketing campaign could fabricate. Motorsport has never been the G-Class's main arena, but its DNA influences endurance events and overlanding culture. Owners use it to cross continents, scale mountain passes, and tow impossibly heavy loads with calm precision. In those environments, the G-Class 2025's tech innovations, advanced traction control, torque vectoring, predictive navigation, aren't luxuries. They're survival tools. The electric version even opens new possibilities for expedition travel, offering instant power in remote areas where fuel supply is unpredictable. Quietly, it's redefining what off-grid exploration can mean in an era of electrification. Then there's the emotional connection. In cities like Los Angeles, Miami, and New York, the G-Class 2025 continues to symbolize personal victory. Its presence communicates permanence, a machine that looks the same year after year, unfazed by fleeting design trends. Buyers see it as a reward not just for wealth but for discernment. It's the rare SUV that earns respect in both wilderness and urban traffic. That cultural duality keeps it desirable long after more futuristic rivals fade from attention. Financially, the 2025 G-Class also tells a deeper story about brand loyalty. The resale market remains astonishingly strong. Used examples hold value because the design barely changes. Timelessness becomes a form of currency. Mercedes doesn't chase volume with this model, it cultivates scarcity. Dealers often have waiting lists, and allocations are treated like invitations. That exclusivity feeds the mystique, but it also reinforces the vehicle's unique position as both tool and trophy. Of course, every icon faces scrutiny. Critics question whether an SUV this heavy and expensive can ever truly align with environmental goals. Mercedes answers by investing in cleaner manufacturing, battery recycling, and carbon-neutral assembly facilities. Still, the conversation lingers. Can true sustainability coexist with indulgence? The Mercedes G-Class 2025 doesn't solve that paradox. It embodies it. And maybe that's why people are drawn to it. It reflects our own contradictions as consumers who crave both responsibility and excess. The US market, with its vast landscapes and appetite for powerful vehicles, remains the G-Class's natural stage. It's a land of contrasts. Urban sprawl meets wilderness, technology meets tradition, and that mirrors the G's character perfectly. The 2025 model speaks to Americans who want capability without compromise, who see adventure not as a pastime but as proof of freedom. In that sense, the G-Class continues to feel authentically American despite its European roots. As electrification reshapes expectations, the G-Class stands out by refusing to choose between past and future. It's not trying to be minimalist or futuristic, it's trying to be timeless. Mercedes has turned the G-Class into a bridge between mechanical history and digital tomorrow. And that's what makes this chapter so compelling, the realization that progress doesn't always mean reinvention. Sometimes it means reaffirmation. The story doesn't end with engineering or aesthetics. It expands into meaning. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 becomes a symbol of endurance, not just for its drivers, but for the industry itself, a reminder that heritage can be an asset, not an anchor. As rivals chase trends and ephemeral design languages, the G remains steadfast, and in that steadfastness lies its advantage. The next part of our journey explores exactly that. The legacy the 2025 G-Class will leave behind, and how it reshapes what an off-road icon means in a world hurtling toward an electric, connected, and uncertain future. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 reaches American driveways, carrying the weight of expectation and the reward of continuity. For US buyers, its significance extends beyond performance numbers or off-road bragging rights. It's about trust. The G-Class has built a reputation as one of the few luxury SUVs that actually delivers on its promise of durability. The 2025 model doesn't betray that. It strengthens it. Underneath the familiar shape lies a structure designed to outlast trends and survive punishment. In a market where vehicles often feel disposable, the G-Class remains proudly overbuilt. From an ownership standpoint, the Mercedes G-Class 2025 isn't for the faint of heart or wallet. Starting prices hover deep into six figures and options can climb fast. Maintenance is meticulous, fuel economy still modest for the gas versions, and parts are crafted to aircraft-grade standards. But that's exactly what loyalists love, the sense that you're buying permanence, not convenience. Even after years of use, resale values stay remarkably high because each generation changes so little. A G-Class never really feels old. It feels seasoned. That reliability of design is a currency of its own. The electric G580 EQ variant adds a new dimension to ownership in the US, and a new conversation about practicality. Charging infrastructure is growing, and Mercedes provides access to a wide network of stations, but the appeal goes deeper than logistics. For many owners, the idea of silent strength, instant torque with zero emissions, represents a new kind of luxury. It's power without guilt, indulgence without apology. Still, traditionalists will continue to gravitate toward the thunderous G63, drawn to the visceral theater of that twin-turbo V8. Both choices speak to different interpretations of freedom, and both remain authentically G-Class. Reliability, as always, depends on care. The 2025 models are complex machines. Technology adds capability but also precision. Regular software updates, tire rotation, and fluid maintenance are essential. Mercedes' service network is extensive in the US, and certified technicians know these vehicles intimately, but ownership demands respect. The payoff is longevity. G-Class models from decades past still roam highways and back roads alike. Their boxy silhouette standing as proof that durability is a design language of its own. Import availability isn't an issue anymore, but scarcity remains part of the experience. Each allocation feels like a badge of patience. Waiting lists persist in major metro areas, with customization programs offering nearly limitless combinations of color, trim, and equipment. Buyers don't just purchase a car, they commission one. That personalization deepens the bond between driver and machine, reinforcing the sense that the Mercedes G-Class 2025 isn't mass-produced. It's crafted. For American enthusiasts, the G-Class legacy is intertwined with culture. It's the SUV that signals both success and substance. It looks the same parked outside a ski lodge in Colorado as it does on the boulevards of Los Angeles. Its reputation bridges social worlds, admired by ranchers and executives alike. And that's rare. The G-Class 2025 doesn't try to be something for everyone. It's something distinct for those who understand what endurance feels like behind the wheel. The broader takeaway for US viewers is simple. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 is proof that longevity and relevance aren't mutually exclusive. It's an SUV that keeps its roots planted firmly in authenticity while stretching into the electric future. It doesn't ask you to choose between nostalgia and innovation. It offers both in a single, commanding form. For those who want a vehicle that's more than transportation, something that speaks of confidence, heritage, and preparation, this remains one of the few left standing. Icons survive because they evolve without losing themselves. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 carries that truth forward. Refined, electrified, and utterly unshaken. In a world obsessed with what's next, it stands as a reminder that the strongest statement isn't change, it's endurance. The Mercedes G-Class 2025 enters its legacy phase not as a farewell, but as a recalibration of what the word icon truly means. To understand its future, we must first acknowledge its resilience. For decades, the G-Class has survived trends that buried countless SUVs, downsizing, soft rotors, and aerodynamic obsession. Yet the 2025 model remains unmistakably itself. That's the secret of its longevity, evolution that feels invisible, even as everything underneath changes. In the Mercedes G-Class 2025, that evolution becomes philosophy. The engineers who shaped this machine understood that survival doesn't mean mimicry. It means preservation through adaptation. The new electric G580 EQ isn't a radical departure. It's a modern translation of the same ideals. Its quad motor system doesn't just move the vehicle, it articulates power in ways mechanical drive shafts never could. Each wheel becomes its own decision maker, adjusting torque instantaneously to maintain balance. Where older models relied on brute force, this one relies on intelligence. Yet it still feels like a G-Class because it channels the same invincible calm. What makes the Mercedes G-Class 2025 so fascinating is that its strength is no longer just physical, it's symbolic. The world has grown more digital, more efficient, more silent. Vehicles have become rolling computers. Amid all that, the G-Class remains defiantly analog in character. Even when its drivetrain goes electric, its emotional resonance stays mechanical. The flat panels, exposed hinges, and commanding seating position make every drive feel deliberate. It's as though you're piloting a timeless object through a transient world. That permanence carries comfort, an anchor in motion. The emotional impact of this vehicle extends beyond its owners. To enthusiasts, the Mercedes G-Class 2025 represents proof that design integrity still matters. In an era where most vehicles are sculpted by wind tunnels and spreadsheets, the G refuses to apologize for its right angles. That stubbornness has become part of its mythology. Even people who would never buy one acknowledge its authority. It's the kind of vehicle that inspires reverence simply by existing, a mechanical heirloom passed from one generation to the next. But legacy isn't just nostalgia. It's influence. The G-Class has shaped the language of modern SUVs. Rivals imitate its stance, its sense of command, its celebration of utility as luxury. Yet none capture the balance of refinement and grit that defines the Mercedes G-Class 2025. It's the rare case where imitation flatters, but never threatens the original. Mercedes didn't invent the off-roader, but it perfected the idea of making one desirable. That influence stretches far beyond the showroom, informing everything from electric adventure trucks to minimalist EV crossovers. Inside, the G-Class 2025 delivers more than comfort. It delivers continuity. The cabin design bridges generations without sentimentality. The thick leather, visible bolts, and upright glass remind drivers that this machine was engineered, not styled. But the technology, augmented navigation, terrain sensors, and driver assist intelligence brings the experience into the present. The contrast isn't jarring. It's poetic. You feel the lineage in every control, yet the interface whispers that this icon still has decades of relevance ahead. The ownership experience, too, evolves while preserving its ritual. Owning a G-Class has never been about practicality. It's about participation. Each start, each climb, each parking maneuver reminds you that this isn't transportation. It's a statement. The 2025 model enhances that ritual with subtle touches, customizable drive sounds that mimic mechanical feedback, energy regeneration that feels organic, and over-the-air updates that quietly refine performance. Mercedes has managed to merge mechanical romance with digital intelligence without diluting either. What truly defines the Mercedes G-Class 2025, though, is how it reframes what progress means. In most industries, modernization demands transformation. Here it demands restraint. Mercedes could have redesigned everything, but instead, they chose preservation as innovation. That decision required confidence that authenticity would outlast fashion. And they were right. The G-Class doesn't chase relevance. It radiates it. Culturally, this matters more than most people realize. The G-Class stands for endurance in a world obsessed with change. It tells a story about identity, how values can evolve without losing shape. It's no longer just a symbol of wealth. It's a symbol of stability. Owners connect to it not just through admiration, but through trust. You know what you're getting. A machine that refuses to pretend, that delivers what it promises with no apologies. In the context of Mercedes-Benz's broader lineup, the G-Class 2025 is a spiritual compass. While sedans and crossovers experiment with futuristic forms, the G reminds the brand where it came from. It embodies Mercedes' oldest virtues: durability, capability, and dignity. Every bolt and panel carries that DNA forward. And as the company invests billions into electrification and autonomous driving, the G-Class stands as a reminder that technology must serve emotion, not erase it. The future of the Mercedes G-Class 2025 also lies in its global resonance. Across continents, it has become shorthand for reliability in extremes, from Arctic ice to desert dunes. With the introduction of the electric variant, that reliability now includes a new dimension: independence from fuel infrastructure. As charging networks expand, the G-Class may become the ultimate explorer again, not just crossing continents, but bridging eras of mobility. Yet, even with this promise, there's humility built into its story. The G-Class has always been over-engineered, overbuilt, and over-prepared. But that's exactly why people trust it. The 2025 model doesn't try to outshine its predecessors. It carries them with grace. It's evolution without ego. In doing so, it turns endurance into elegance, a quiet kind of power that no other SUV quite matches. Looking ahead, the Mercedes G-Class 2025 sets the blueprint for what heritage-driven modernization should look like. It proves that legacy isn't a weight to carry, it's a resource to wield. By keeping its character intact while embracing change, it has achieved what few icons ever do: timeless relevance. Whether powered by pistons or electrons, the G-Class will always symbolize confidence in the face of uncertainty. And that's where the story converges. The G-Class 2025 isn't just an update, it's an affirmation. It says that the best way to face the future is to know exactly who you are. In a world rewriting the rules of mobility, it remains steadfast. A box-shaped declaration that progress and tradition can, in fact, drive the same road. The legend continues not because it refuses to change, but because it knows exactly how to.